Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Here we go. It's Monday. Hello, my Aloha tribe. Welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Monday. To all my nerds out there, may the 4th be with you. To all my Catholic nerds out there, and also with you. And to everybody else, happy Monday. I know, right? So anyways, I am wearing my Star Wars shirt today, my resistance, which carries so many meanings nowadays. My rebellion, my resistance, all those things, but it is Star Wars. So see, find your force, hope and strength, hope and strength, hope and strength. A little bit of Yoda. Oh, see, look. Force be with you. And of course, there is no try, only do. So, good morning, Muddy. All right, I got all my nerds covered, all my Catholic nerds covered, and this is going to go on for a few days because tomorrow is Revenge of the 5th, and of course, Wednesday, Revenge of the 6th, since the 5th and the 6th fight over that all the time. So, some people say 6th because it's the Sith, right? And some people say 5th because it just sounds better. But I think both work. Anyways, good morning, older sibling. Good morning, Muddy. So today, so here's the thing. On this show, I really try to talk about things that I think people may want to hear about. Sometimes I get a little bit passionate about things and I go off on a tangent and a soapbox thing. And, other times it's just, I share things about myself and my life that I'm hoping will be relatable. And this happens to be one of those days. So Friday, I've actually kind of felt this coming, but I'm not sure. As many of you know, I have spoken about menopause before, because I've been chasing it like a wild, crazy beast. Like a lion going after its prey, going, oh, hurry up already. And, it is one elusive MFer, but I've always been kind of late to the party on everything anyways. So I'm going to preface it with this. In high school and after high school, you never want to talk about getting your period. Okay. I don't even know why I'm saying this, getting your period. Because, people think it's so taboo, and I don't get it, right? I don't get it. It's something women go through. There is a lot of things men can't do. There are a few things, I should say, that men can't do that women can, or men assigned at birth can't do that women can. And that is have a period. That is give birth. And that is go through menopause. So the maiden, the mother, the crone. All right. And they always make crone sound like such a bad thing, but really, if you get to crone status, you might as well be that guru on top of the mountain because you've just been through everything. But, anyways, right. Brain fog. I was talking to, I had a friend of mine and it was a male. And one of the reasons I don't really shy away from talking about these things is because my peers, my male peers in high school were really kind of like, one of my closest friends in high school that I actually went to school with, not bestie, who I've known since 9th grade, and only went to school with for 1 year, but one that I actually went to school with from in my junior and senior year. He grew up around women. And it was just a thing. It's just a thing, so, but yeah, even Muddy, I've never gotten it. It's a fact of life, but he's all like, cause I was like, well, yeah, he's all, are you on your period? And I'm like, and I just kind of like froze, and he's all, you don't need to be ashamed to talk about it. It's something that happens. And it was a guy, and, up until that point, you just kind of figure guys don't understand, guys don't get it. They don't, blah, blah, cause it's like, even my dad's kind of like, oh, one of those things. And even my grandfather, my grandma had to send him, my cousin had a surprise visit, which she wasn't expecting. She was a few days early. And this is when I was in Hawaii and I was probably about 11. And, my grandma sent my grandpa to the store and he brought me with him. And, he didn't care, and the lady looked at me and I'm like, it's not me. It's like, I'm 10 years old, lady. It's not me. But anyways, like I said, I was late to the party, and I don't. There's probably a million reasons why, but they had to put me on hormone pills to actually get me started. So I was about 14 when I finally started my period. And of course, even though you're expecting it and you know it's coming, I still thought I was dying. Because I'm telling you, depending on who you are and how, it happens, cramps are no joke. Mine usually come when I was younger, mine usually came in the form of a lot of back pain. Now, if you're a man and you're still on this, please don't leave, okay? Because I'm going to do my best to be as relatable as possible. I'm going to share some things, and I'm not going to name names because I didn't get permission from them. But nothing bad. But, actually, older sibling never really cares. She always gives me carte blanche to talk about her. But, there's someone I know that, was on birth control pills to control their periods. Because a lot of times they'll put us on, like birth control pills, or in my case, I was on an IUD for a while because our periods are so irregular that when they come, it's like having 3 periods in one, So if you miss 3 months, it's like all of them just come together for this jamboree of just awkwardness for like a week. But she was on those, and her, and her doctor said, hey, do you blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't know. And then he said, well, let's take you off. And then, it never happened again. So she apparently menopaused while this was all happening. And so she kind of missed it, right? I mean, it was just not missed it in a bad way, but just missed it. And so it was like, okay. And then I was talking to an older sibling last night, and I said, well, did you realize you were menopausing? And, and she has CRPS. So one of the worst side effects of CRPS is feeling, as I've mentioned before, feeling like you're burning from the inside out. So hot flashes are not abnormal. So she wasn't really sure, she just knew it happened, but there was not really a telltale sign that it was this huge event in her life because she had CRPS. And then there's other people I know, like one of my cousins, she's like, I'm so over all these hot flashes. I am a person who runs hot. I mean, I've been that way since I was a kid. And when I mean runs hot, I am very warm-blooded. A guy I dated years and years and years ago, my ex-boyfriend, he had an iguana and couldn't understand why this iguana loved to lay on my chest. And he's all like, well, how come he loves you so much more? I'm like, he doesn't love me so much more. I'm basically just a heating rock. Okay? I am just a heating rock. And this little baby would fall asleep on me because I was so warm. And that's just how I was built. So having hot flashes is, I don't know. It's like walking through a desert in the summer. And it sucks because you can feel it coming on. Or sometimes when you're doing a lot, and it's like when you're doing a lot and then you have a hot flash and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to cool down. This is the end of my life. So I like to be very dramatic. As you know, I brought the appropriate cup. I'm not dramatic. I'm theatrical, which is true. I'm very dramatic. But anyways, so as I was mentioning, I was talking to a baby sibling on Friday because I was going through a lot of weird shit on Friday. So many thoughts running through my mind, all this weird stuff. And to be honest with you, I just feel like I'm in this transition phase now of perimenopause, which is kind of like premenopausal. See, I don't want this to be about facts and all this other stuff. What I want this to be is relatable. Because we can look up the facts, we can look up the brain fog, the hot flashes, the hormone drop levels, the estrogen drop levels, all these different things, right? This stuff is all over the internet. But what you don't always find people talking about, unless you buy their book, is what we go through. Now, my experience is probably going to be completely different from every other woman going through menopause, but we're all going to come together in this little tiny circle of similar circumstances. And by that, I mean how we handle the mood swings, how we handle the feelings that come out of nowhere, how we handle the hot flashes that just, send you reeling like you just want to sit on a bed of ice, right? Or just lock yourself in the fridge for a while. And, or makes you want to move, just be a penguin in Antarctica until all of this is over, right? But, I would love to live among the penguins. Sorry. Side quest. Did we just make a new term? Side flash? Let's make it side flash. When you're menopausing, you can call it side flashes. And apparently I cannot string words together because I keep tripping over them. But anyways, just one fun fact. Okay. Menopause is not what most women go through before their period stops for the first time. Menopause is when you've completed an entire calendar year, 12 months of no periods. Okay, 12 months of no periods. So I can imagine the person at month 11 going, please be done, please be done, please be done. And I'm sure there are women who at month number 12 got their period, but just for a second. And then they're kind of like, oh. So I don't know how that works. I don't know if it resets it or what, but I figure if you've gone that long, you're probably done. But that's menopause. So now they have a new term, and I don't know how new it is. I don't know how old it is, but I did not hear it when I was growing up. But as I get closer to this age of the change, which is what I always heard it called, right? The change. God, they make you sound like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But they have a new term, perimenopause. Perimenopause. And perimenopause is kind of like every symptom that a woman goes through, right? But they still get their periods. So, like I said, I feel like I'm in this transition phase now. Okay, I'm hoping. All right, I saw a meme last week from the Flyers and the Penguins, and it was the Flyers mascot, which looks incredibly horrifying, by the way. Like so cute, or like so ugly, it's cute. And I don't like to call things ugly because I feel like everything has some kind of natural beauty in it. But this thing's creepy, okay? I mean, I don't know what it is about Philadelphia, but damn, they come up with some wild mascots. But anyways, it was chasing the Penguins fans. And all I could think of was, the meme was funny because I love hockey, but all I could think of was, God, that feels like me chasing menopause. And menopause just running away from me out of fear. But... And it was a joke meme, obviously. It was not the mascot really chasing anyone, because that's just grounds for a lawsuit if one of them trips and falls and bumps their head. But, so anyways, I can't be sure but I'm fairly positive that I have begun this journey to menopause, which made me pause and think about all this, and like I said, but yeah, Friday I had a talk with baby sibling, and I was going through all these emotions, and it was just kind of like we were just texting back and forth, and I didn't really want to talk to anyone, and then it was just kind of like all these things, and I'm having these weird cramps and just all this stuff, and I don't really know because the internet doesn't tell you enough. Fortunately, I'm having coffee today with one of my close best friends, and she's a nurse, so I'm going to be like picking her brain, like, please share something with me that I need to know. She's younger than me, so I doubt she's even menopause yet. But crankiness is involved. I even told older sibling, because I'm going home on Sunday for a week, because her birthday's coming up. It's a week from Friday. But I was like, you're going to need to be patient with me, because I am trying to navigate this. And honestly, I've never been good on PMS. I was always a cranky bitch, and I didn't want to be. And now that I've kind of healed a lot of my trauma, I feel like I handle it a little bit better. But sometimes my mood swings come on so fast. It's like standing in, I don't know, a revolving door, and you can't find the way out. And it's just like, good Lord Almighty. So anyways, that being said, I think, I know that was kind of a long way there, right? But I wanted to talk about why we don't talk about these things, why women are so embarrassed by menopause, or why, here's the thing. We are going to have these mood swings. It's just like Sammy says, I've never gotten it. It's a fact of life. It is a fact of life. Okay. It's a fact of life, and it's going to happen to some women. Women who have hysterectomies, probably, I don't know. I feel like when I was talking to my friend, and this is a long time ago when they had this done, that I was like, did you even menopause? But I have another friend who did go through the hot flashes. So it really just is your body changing, and so I so as to preface this next thought, I had a friend over the weekend who I think was just in a bad mood, and he was just like trying to, he was just rambling on Facebook about getting Congress to send all the women to their own island. And I was telling Bestie, I said, I said right now, I said, I think I am finally making that journey towards menopause, and that island is starting to look really good. But this Bestie is someone I can tell everything to. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of people I can tell a lot of things to, because, I mean, older sibling has taught me how to be an open book, how to not be ashamed of my story. And so Troy and I were talking, and he sent me an audio message, and I loved every minute of it. And I'm going to read it to you now, because I did copy it down. But this was one of my favorite responses. And, the reason I'm pointing this out, that he is a man, is because I love it when men are in tune. When they don't sit there and go, ugh, or they don't go, oh, well, you're going through this and you're going through that. It is not easy being a girl. Okay. I mean, it's not easy being a girl, especially during that time of the month, because you're dealing with a lot of crap, and most of it's coming out of you. I mean, let's get graphic right now. Okay. I mean, you are bleeding for 3 to 7 days, and some days are going to be heavier than others, and it's just awkward. It is not comfortable. I mean, you're in the bathroom every couple of hours, or even every hour, depending on how bad it is, changing your feminine hygiene products. And it's just, it's not for the faint of heart. It is not for the faint of heart. But, it's something we deal with, and it's something we do. And it's a possibility of, becoming a mom, and adding to the world, procreating and putting more babies onto this planet. And, some of us don't get there. Some of us did. But no matter what your journey ended up being, this is something that most women have to go through, and, so to hear this response, I was just giggling. I was giggling, and I was like, yeah, so Bestie said, I told Bestie, and he replied with an audio message. I mean, if parents/moms are holding menses parties for their daughters, then I don't know why the hell not you can have a get the hell out of menses party. And that's how he said it, get the hell out of menses party, as an older woman. Damn straight. Why aren't we throwing celebrations for this change of life? Women or girls who get their periods, their moms treat them like, wow, you're a woman now. You're this, you're that, you're that, you're this. Women who get pregnant due to having a period get baby showers. But then we hit menopause, and everybody is like, everybody's quiet about it. I'm not saying people forget about it, because obviously this right here shows, I mean, and Bestie is, 2 boys out of 4 kids. So there's 2 boys, 2 girls. Okay. So, but he's the oldest, but he's also been acutely aware, of women. Plus he cares for his mother-in-law who has dementia, and, yeah. And exactly. Muddy said, preach, Troy. And I loved it. Why aren't we celebrating this, ladies? Why aren't we selling this? I told him, I said, did I say selling this? I meant celebrating this, but hey, let's sell it. I told Bestie, I said, yeah, my party includes alcohol. If you're not a drinker, eat the chocolate, eat the cake, do whatever, because this is a new process. And this isn't just like, when you get your period and it's just like, you wake up one morning, it's like, oh my God. I literally told my mom, I think I'm dying. Something's happening. And then she started laughing, and I don't blame her, because we had talked about this over and over and over again. And still, when it happened, it's like, oh my God, I'm dying. And I mean, not dying because I had cramps. I mean, like, I literally thought I was dying. I've been dramatic since birth. Okay. They say. I like to say I keep it interesting. So, definitely keep it interesting. But anyways, that being said, why don't we celebrate it? I was reading an article, And I didn't read the whole thing because it was just a snippet, right? And I couldn't find the entire article, but they say that women in India actually embrace this. Now, I'm not 100% positive if this is true or not, because it's the internet and sometimes the internet gets it wrong. But if this is the case, you know, regardless of whether it's true or not, which it might be, all I could think of was, why is it that more Western world women do not embrace this change of life? You know, in the metaphysical world, you know, where you have the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Becoming a crone is a very special event. It's a very important thing, because you are literally now that guru on the mountain. You are the person everybody comes to for wisdom and strength and all that stuff, regardless of whether you've had children or not, because you are older. We put such a taboo marker on getting older, and I don't understand why. Okay, I don't understand why. The other day I was telling you about how I forgot I was 53, and it wasn't because I thought it was old. It's because it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I mean, I totally had a brain fart. That's all it was. And yeah, and exactly. Muddy said it perfectly. I think it goes back to the ageism thing. I really think that is the case, right? We tell people they can't wear certain things because they're this old. I mean, fuck that, dude. You know, I'm 53 years old, and I'm going to wear my Star Wars shirts. I have one over there with Princess Leia on it. Says, don't mess with the princess. You know, I just love fun shirts. That's my thing. People have concert shirts. I have fun shirts. And some people who have concert shirts also have fun shirts. But you know what? My point. Okay, I'm not going to walk around with floral attire because somebody says I have to because I'm over 50. No. Starting right now, anybody watching this, all the people watching this, let's break this taboo. Let's break this stupidity. And yes, it is stupid. I'm not saying a woman's feelings are stupid, but what I'm saying is stupid, and maybe it's a little harsh, is how we treat aging. How we treat things like menopause or perimenopause. If you're a woman and you wanted to have a child, I can understand how perimenopause and menopause is going to affect you, and it's going to hurt. Okay? And in fact, I did cry over that the other day, even though I had made peace with the fact that I was never going to have kids because I can't seem to find a person. And not only that, I'm older now, and it's not going to be fair to a kid. Not to mention, I have a heart I need to take care of, so I'm not sure that my heart could handle that. You know, Muddy said, laughed out loud over walking around in floral attire. It's true. All I have are these visions of these older church ladies when Mom and I would go to church on Sunday in their bright pastel floral, they'd be wearing solid color clothes, or maybe it was like this, like light airy blouse, but it always had flowers on it. It's like, come on. I'd rather wear animal print. And if older siblings still on, she knows. She's like, wow, that's a strong statement, because it's like, I'm not an animal print person. But you know what? I have grown through the ages of wear what you please. Wear what you please. But here's the thing. If you're an older woman and you love that floral attire, then own it. Wear it. But I don't think it's something that, we should be forced to wear, because here's the thing. When you go into stores and you start looking and they have like the older lady sections or the grown-up people sections, and you're like, it's almost like they're putting you in these clothes, right? It's almost like they've sectioned you out and said, you're older, this is what you're going to wear. And, I love that, the people like the younger baby boomers, like, older sibling and Muddy and, the earlier, and all the Gen Xers, right? I mean, I hate to put the label of all of us on there, but we're breaking these taboos. We're breaking these things, going, screw you, I'm going to wear what I want. I'm going to wear my cat shirts if I want to. I'm going to wear my, my concert t-shirts if I want to. I'm going to wear those leggings. I'm going to wear those Doc Martens. Hell, I've paired Doc Martens with a floral dress. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with floral. I love it on occasion. But what I'm saying is, I don't think women, or even men in some cases, should be pigeonholed into a stereotype that the world created to separate everybody out. No. Okay? I'm 53. But another 53-year-old person may not look like me, right? We all look different. A 60-year-old, we all look different. 70, 80, 90, 100. I read an article the other day about an 82-year-old woman who ran her 6th marathon. She was doing she had a thing, and she was doing a marathon in 6 cities that hold them. And I can't remember 3 of them, but 3 of them were, I believe, LA, Boston. That Boston was her last one, and London. And I'm like, this woman's traveling all over the world and running 26.2 miles, and I can't even run down the hallway. So see, we're all different. We're all different. And that was her thing. That was her dream, right? I wanted to run all these marathons in all these cities and because I think if you do that, I think you get a special medal for that. Because I didn't know that in California, Southern California, you get a special medal for running different half marathons. So, and it's like, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was in the LA area, but yeah, so, I mean, that's another side adventure. We're just talking a side quest, but my point is, why do we stick this taboo on it? I'm with Bestie. I think we should be throwing parties, like have a pad burning party, throw your tampons into the bonfire, throw your pads into the bonfire, because always is not always. Okay? It's not forever. Always is not forever. But, yeah, and this really, I'm not trying to make this a soapboxy thing either. I'm trying to make this an awareness thing, okay? Because I don't think it should be taboo. I think it should be celebrated. If you're going to celebrate the young lady who gets her period for the first time, you're going to celebrate the mom who is pregnant, we should celebrate the people who have come through all these things. Whether, you never had children, or maybe you're a grandmother now, or maybe a great grandparent. We should be celebrating these things, and for those people who say, well, you don't understand because you were never a parent, I'm going to say this, okay? Oh, yeah, sorry. I know. It was just one of those things that popped into my head. But Muddy's right. Pack them up and donate them to a homeless shelter or a women's shelter. A homeless shelter or a women's shelter. Donate all your feminine hygiene products, that are unused to these wonderful places. Give these women the opportunity, because, whether you are homed or unhomed, I gotta cut my bangs. They're making my eyes itchy. Women need these things. But I also want to point out how some people say, well, there are some people who don't think before they talk. And they'll say, well, how can you understand? Because you never had kids, so you don't understand what it's like. Now, there are some women in this world who do not want children. There are other women in this world who had hoped and never got there. Okay? And for those who hoped and never got there, it is a sting, because this is the final period on their sentence of life. This is the thing that says, that this is never going to be. I mean, unless they froze their eggs or something, or, you adopt, which is different. Adopted children are so special because they're chosen. But there are women out there who just feel like, they wanted to experience the joys of carrying that child, of being a mom. So you got to be sensitive in all the ways around it. Menopause it covers a large range of women. Okay, it covers a very large range of women. Women who had children, women who didn't, women who never wanted children. Why am I having trouble talking today? Who never wanted children. But it does cover a lot of ground. But you got to be sensitive with it, because, I'm bringing this up because I'm going to do my best to embrace this journey. But I did have a good cry yesterday morning. I cried and I said, I wrote it in my journal that, actually, I don't know if I wrote it in this one or the other one. Let me see. No, that's a story for another day. Emotional eating and menopause, because menopause is nothing but feelings. And when you're an emotional eater, you tend to feed your feelings. So this is This has been an exercise in willpower, and I'm losing. But anyways, I wrote here, woke up in tears this morning. I was crying for a past that might have been and for a future that never will be. That's about as, to the point as you're going to get. For a past that might have been and a future that never will be. And I had that good cry. I had my moment. And then I said, hey, you know what? Whatever the reason is the reason. And there's nothing I can do about it. And, I made peace with it. I moved through it. Who knows? It might come up again one day. But in the moment, here we are. And a lot of people look at me crazy when I said, oh yeah, I'm chasing menopause hard. They're all, oh, you poor thing. It's like, no, I'm literally chasing it, waiting for it and wanting it and wishing for it to happen now. Because, I'm not going to say patience is my strong suit. Not. Definitely not. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I want to move through it, to get over that hurdle, get into this next phase of my life. And, I know women who have menopause for years, and I'm praying that is not me. And, sometimes I'm not even sure if they've menopause for years or it's just, your body is in this state of flux, right? They say that your body changes, goes through different stages at different times of your life. And that's men and women, right? We're born these tiny little things, and now we're tall, or we're taller, and we're adults, and we're not these little infants anymore that are being cradled and rocked, and we do things for ourselves. So we've grown, we've had these different stages. Again, when you first get your period, or a boy, when a boy first reaches puberty, I've heard some stories about that. Wow, but not a wow in a bad way. But they're discovering themselves, right? Girls discover themselves and men discover themselves. And you can do with that what you will. But, and that's okay. And women should too, right? We've talked about that. We've talked about that, how you should not be ashamed of, personal satisfaction. But, boys are starting to figure it out too. They're kind of like, oh, what is happening? So, and I don't know enough about that because obviously I'm not a boy. But my point is that I think on all of this, I think we really need to cut out the whole taboo shit. Embrace this, all right? If you're sad, move through it. And I don't mean move through it in a mean way. I mean, move through it. Get your feelings out. If you need therapy, go to therapy, because we are in a state now. Perimenopause is a state where your hormones are starting to really change. Your estrogen levels are going to start dropping. You're going to get that brain frog. What the hell? You're going to get the brain fog, the hot flashes, potential cramps, all these weird things that are happening to your body because it's readjusting to itself, right? Your metabolism might slow down a little, which I kind of think is bullshit. I think diets stop your metabolism. Okay, I do believe the metabolism slows down a bit, but that's because we slow down a bit. If you keep going, you keep eating like you're supposed to be eating, and you do all these things, your metabolism will pick up. All right, because there are thin people in this world that are my age. All right, and there are thin people in this world that are 90 years old, and they've never had a problem with their metabolism because they've never overthought their food process. They've just ate. They just did their thing, and they were fine. So I'm sure there's a science to that, and I don't mean to go against the science in that because I do believe in science. But I think a lot of it too, when I had a personal trainer once a billion years ago, he told me, what really affects metabolism is women start thinking they're fat. Then they start dieting. Then they mess up their entire body. And, and he says, but metabolism is really up to you. And he did say, but as you get older, it does slow down a little bit. It doesn't stop. It just slows down. And you adjust. So, for those that, if you want to blame menopause, go ahead. Because you know what? I think menopause should be a free pass for certain things, right? Like, we're going to have mood swings. We are going to probably stand there and cry and just be like, oh my God. I think I was talking about this last week when when Dad and I were watching the show and the mom was going through the change, and the term was actually coined in the 1800s, I believe, the late 1700s, but really coined in the 1800s in France. And so it's not like it hasn't been there. It's just we don't talk about it because, like I said, for some reason, when it comes to the human body, we shame it so much. And, when Bestie said what he said, if they're going to have these menzies parties for girls who just get it, we should have a get the hell out party too. We should celebrate that. We should celebrate that next stage in life, and here it goes, ladies. I mean, you have 12 months to prepare that party until you're officially official. So, like I said, I'm not sure. I'm pretty positive that I'm on that path now. Not, like I said, not 100% sure, but pretty sure. I've also known women who had some version of a period every single day for a year. Not heavy, not bad, but just kind of, it's there, right? Like on your ending days. And then then after 12 months, it was gone. So see, there really is no pattern. There's a specific pattern that is put in the books that is the standard for most women, but it's not all women. So I think what we need to do is break this taboo. Okay. Yeah, Muddy's right. We tend to shame most natural biological functions, or at least we used to. I think some people still do. And I don't know if it's out of fear. Like, oh, well, menopause, I can't talk about menopause. Maybe some women feel like they're not going to be attractive to someone anymore, when they go through menopause. I've heard of that happening too. Like, well, I don't feel needed anymore. And that was part of the mom's problem, right? On the show we were watching, is because it's like, she's going through this change. She's going through these hot flashes. She's slowing down a little bit. Her hands are starting to hurt because everything's changing in her. But then it was like, will I be attractive to my husband or my partner? Will I be, attractive to whoever out there because I'm single? I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. I mean, I've been single forever. I was single, when I had my period. I was single in those potential baby making years, and I'm single now. So as a maiden, a mother, and a crone, I have been single through all of it. Never been a mother, but I could be a mother. But I am an aunt. And in my family, when the parent is not around, the kids are given, or the aunts and uncles are given carte blanche to be, to be disciplinary if we have to. But it's so rare. I mean, these kids are so well behaved. It's more of just rationalizing things with them, right? But I want you to know you are worthy. Don't change just because your body's changed. It's just your body. This is the natural state of life. This is what, the majority of the women go through. And like I said, there are women who just blew right through it. There are women who didn't even realize they had it. They're just kind of like, okay, like, okay, we're done. And then there's women who are just struggling through it. And this is why I have chosen to embrace it, because I feel like I am struggling a little bit through it. Because, like I said, there's a lot of different factors for me. There's a mental health issue. I have a dinged up mental health. Then there's the emotional eating. And I think the reason I've been trying to get ahead of it is because even though I can only plan for what might happen, that doesn't mean that it's going to go to my plan. And I get that. It's more of a go with the flow thing. But for me, there are certain things that I've had to write down going, okay, you need to be aware of this and you need to be aware of that. So that when it happens, you realize, oh, okay, this is probably just my changing body right now. Because like I said, right now it feels like I'm in constant PMS. I constantly want to just shove food into my face and feed every feeling I have. And I know I can't do that because that is a problem for me. That is my eating disorder that I'm not always good at containing. So it's just something that I know I have to be aware of. Plus, sometimes I know I can get triggered over certain things. And my triggers are becoming less and less, due to my trauma healing. But at the same time, it can be a little bit cumbersome mentally. And so, there have been days where I've felt like I really had to push through because they felt a little debilitating. And I knew if I fell into that I might spiral, and I can't do that. So there are certain things that are a little bit different for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to share this, because, I think if we become aware of what we're going through, we don't shame ourselves, we don't, put some kind of taboo bookmark on it, I think we'll move through it better. If you're a boyfriend or a husband or a significant other out there, or a wife, for your wife or your kids or a grandmother, whatever, if you know someone going through this, celebrate them. Celebrate them, because this is a personal milestone. And it's a milestone that we have kept under wraps and quiet for far too long. Menopause, the change of life, perimenopause, whatever the hell you want to call it, that should be celebrated, because that is a new stage in life. That is a next milestone for a woman. And, instead of, like I said, instead of shaming it or saying, well, have you seen your doctor? Are you on pills? Or are you taking this? You taking that? We should be celebrating them. Okay? And, if you're parents, and you're the kid of a parent who's going through this, and you're old enough to do something special for them, do it. I wish I would have thought about that with my mom. But honestly, my mom had a thyroid issue and I think menopause at the same time. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. Okay, it was like, being spun around really fast and then stopped and you're just dizzy. And I had no idea what she went through. But I think going forward now, and if you've been long past menopause, go out there and celebrate yourself anyways. Because we are here. And we are in this third stage of womanhood. And I'm slowly moving my way into there. I'm really hoping. I know it sounds terrible, but here's the thing. I never had kids. And when I realized I was never going to have kids, I thought, why do I have my period still? It's really annoying. It's like there's no purpose. There's no purpose. And I just wish there was a switch that you could just say, nope, not happening. I'm turning it off. So you have to make your peace with it. You have to figure out how to make your peace with it. And I'm not saying it was easy, because it wasn't, because that was, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up, have a family, have a career, do all these wonderful things. And nothing seems to have panned out that direction. Not yet. I mean, at least the career part. But I had a decent career, but it wasn't my passion. I wanted to be a writer, to be published. Everything I had planned to do by the time I turned 50 did not happen. I thought I'd be like a grandparent by now. But it didn't happen. And I pivoted. And I moved in a direction that, believe it or not, was more going with the flow that I'm realizing now than I realized before. If that makes any sense. I didn't realize that I've really just been kind of going with the flow. I've been fighting the flow. Like a little beaver building a dam every so often. But eventually the flow takes over and it brings me along with it. And it says, okay, here's the next journey. And I think that's how we have to look at this next stage of life, whether you're a man or a woman. But really, since we're talking about menopause, a woman. Don't be ashamed. Embrace it. Embrace it for all it is. Maybe part of the thing that makes it so hard to go through menopause is that we spend the entire cycle pretending it's not happening, or trying not to tell anybody, or just whatever. Your life doesn't end because your period ends. Really, if you think about it, it's just beginning. All right. So here's another fun fact. All right. And it's way off base, but in the villages in Florida, and I don't think this is a problem anymore, but one of the highest STD rates in the country was actually at a senior community. And why? Because women didn't get their periods anymore and men felt like they didn't need to wear condoms. And that is something you can Google. I think they kind of rectified that problem, saying, look, you know what? Just because you can't get pregnant doesn't mean you shouldn't practice safe sex. Period. But, and there's even been, people have even done episodes about this, right? On 911, they had an episode where the father had an STD and he was at a senior community and like, they're all like, well, who else has been involved with this person? And like half the room raised their hands. So see, life doesn't end, people. It's just beginning. but also practice safe sex. Okay. 'Cause nothing like having an owie, right? Because that's just, yeah, fortunately, knock on wood, I've always been able to avoid that. So, whew. But yeah, be safe, be careful. And, as Bestie says, they should throw a get the hell out of your Menzies party. And I think so. Ladies, if you are menopausing, or you think you're menopausing, or you have just completed your 12th stage of the 12th stage to menopause, go out there, celebrate yourself. However you want to do it. Do it responsibly, but however you want to do it. All right? So, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. If you need to get a journal, get a journal. I found out the other day that my mom kept journals. I had no idea. My dad says he's never read any of them, but it was just kind of like, but he kept them. But it was just kind of like, that's interesting. I never knew my mom kept a journal. So anyways, again, have a great, great day. I will see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Oh my God, my brain. 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelly Marie Lucas. I do upload these to YouTube and TikTok, and then you can follow them across the board on social media. So please like, subscribe, do whatever it is that you want to do. And again, whether you're a man or a woman, treat each other kindly, okay? Because this is a very important part of a woman's life, and it could be difficult, physically and mentally for her. So be kind, be patient, and be understanding. All right. Compassion and empathy will go a very long way. Have a great day.